I would like to reconsider my position on the importance of contact and the negative effect of strikeouts on an offense. I would like permission to reconsider my opinion. And I wrote about this last night. I hope you guys have a few minutes to read it at seattlesports.com. I try not to overly promote everything I do because some of it's better than other stuff, to be perfectly honest. But this is good. Like, I actually came away from this being like, all right, I feel like I did a good job with this. Happy with the writing. I'm happy with the point of view. I think it kind of is a little bit more nuanced than maybe we can even give it here in 15 minutes, because this is not a return to small ball of the 80s conversation. I think that goes too far. But I am trying to avoid some of the, let's call it, ideological entrenchment that left the Goose Gossages of the world so angry, right, in the 2000s about what was changing in the game, and they could not see that teams had figured out a better way to win. They had figured out something new. And I don't want to be left behind like that. I don't want to be Goose Gossaged. I think that would be a horrible thing. And so I think in order to avoid it, and it's harder to do in your late 40s than it is in your 20s, you've got to be open to, new ideas, evolution, etc. And clearly, I think there is some of that happening in baseball right now.
Yeah. And I'm going to be very guarded. I'm not going to be, celebratory in any way. I appreciate your pledge and where your heart is coming from on this. I read the whole article last night. I really enjoyed it. I shot you a little note that I do honestly think one of your great strengths is also as a writer. And I thought you kind of laid the whole thing out and added some context with history that I think is important to this. While nuanced, I think having some of that historical context certainly helped me absorb it more. So
the way I view it, and I'll kind of run through it, but honestly, I do hope you guys could read it, because it's a little bit better when you have like the full thing laid out. And I know we live in a fast society where you just got to consume everything in 30 seconds, but this is a little bit more. That's not baseball. Baseball's not 30 seconds. Baseball's complex. And so I kind of viewed it starting in the 80s. Look, the 80s were, get them on, get them over, get them out, get them in, right? Get your leadoff guy on, who's the fastest guy on your team, and let him steal or then bunt him, because your number 2 guy is Brett Butler and he can bunt and he can the 2-hitter can handle the bat. He's usually a second baseman. He's not necessarily a good hitter, but he can handle the bat. And then the 3-hitter is your best hitter, and the 4-hitter clubs a home run. And that was the old days. That was the 80s.
And by the way, in that era as well, I would add a little chunk from the Kingdome to Kauffman Stadium to Three Rivers to Riverfront. They were all played on cement.
Right.
The AstroTurf,
a lot of them were, yeah.
The AstroTurf of that era.
Yeah. Certainly helped that.
Yes, it did.
That's a great point. And then, Moneyball comes around, and steroids too, but especially Moneyball. And people are like, wait a minute, we can do this better. We can do this better. Like 3 true outcome hitters. Hit home runs, walk, and strike out. And what they were doing was essentially taking advantage, I think, of the weakest part of every team, which was their relief pitching. There just weren't enough good pitchers. There are a lot of great starters, but if you could get them out of the game early, before you got to the good closers, you could destroy the mental nobodies who were relievers. They were bad.
Relievers of that era were known as bad starters.
They were bad.
Like
they were
DBs are
starters.
known as bad receivers.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Right. There was just kind of this. Yeah, just get to their bullpen, get to their relievers, because they're the, there wasn't a lot of pride. There wasn't they were bad. There were in closers, but in between was pretty soft.
So that was essentially the name of the game for years. And it's why, Brock, I've always sort of been a fan of the 3 true outcome thing, because I think the home runs obviously help. The walks obviously help double, because not only do you get on base, but you drive up that pitch count. And the strikeouts, they're not great, but they're better than a 1-pitch ground out, because at least you're working on the pitch count and driving guys out, et cetera. Well, the game changes. The game has changed since then in a lot of ways. Relievers are filthy. Every team has 15 of them, and all of them throw 112 miles an hour. And watch, Rob Friedman pitching ninja. Like, every team has one nasty son of a gun after another. They're unbelievable. So, A, pitching changes. B, and people may disagree with this, I think the defense has changed a little bit. I've thrown this theory out to some people in the game, and they will say, Mike, you're kind of crazy on this. Defense is better. There's so many great defenders in the game. And they're probably right. What I see with my eyes, and maybe you would agree, Brock, is that for years, guys didn't have to be smart baseball players, especially in the field. And I'm finding that if you put a little pressure on them and force them to make a decision, they haven't made enough of them coming up through the minors, and they're not really sure what to do. So you call it defense, you could call it mental preparation. I don't know what you want to call it. But when you take the game to them, when they're in the field, I'm noticing a lot of mistakes.
There wasn't, for a lot of years, there was not much game in the field.
That's what I mean.
It was home run, strikeout, or walk. So that pride in being an unbelievable Aussie, shortstop, that you hang your hat on being like a prideful, great defender, Ozzie Smith,
not just a great defender, but a smart defender. Because I think they're right. Look, there's a lot of really good athletic defenders in the game. The range is quantifiably better. Like, I get all of that, and then they know where to line them up in better positions, etc. But that's not the mental side of the game. That's not thinking through situations and what do I do and some of the complexities, because for years nobody took the game to them. So, all of those things sort of change some of my view on the game. And I just read you the quote from here. I said, I'm not ready to fully recommit to 80s baseball. I think small ball still is kind of going to be tough for me. There's just too much evidence that walks and home runs are important. And you're watching the Mariners win right now. They're number 1 in the leagues in walks and on base percentage, and number 4 in home runs. So if you want the number 1 reason the Mariners offense is better right now, it's walks and home runs. But I think I need to recognize that that's not the only reason. Strikeouts are got to be more than just the necessary evil. They are winning in part because they're not striking out as much. The environment has shifted, and so must some of the strategy. So, Brock, that's where I'll get to my pledge for you today.
Are you going to get rid of your 3-outcome tattoo on your hip?
I might, on my hip. You call it the hip. I would say it's a little.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. I pledge today. Lyle, Mora, please hold me accountable. I pledge to stop defending strikeouts. I pledge to be open to a more aggressive style. I'm not going to pledge to be okay with bunts all the time, and certainly watching ones like Polanco's the other day is going to drive me a little crazy, because I don't know that giving up, your one precious resource in order to move 90 feet is always a good idea. I do believe, and I'm not going to change my view, that walks and home runs are about as important as anything, and still more important than strikeouts. You can live with some strikeouts if you're taking your walks and hitting your home runs. But I'm going to be open to players who have other strengths as well. And I think clearly watching Leo Rivas, watching Master Boney, watching Dylan Moore, all of those things are incredibly important to today's game.
Yep. Okay.
Well, I love would you like to hear some of the response?
From the 509 or the 206 or the 425.
Oh, man.
Can you kind of start with the 206s? Maybe those would be a little.
Only Salk would need to create a larger paradigm shift to admit he was wrong. People are great. I just love you all. I really do.
Before you came on, I also brought up, because he thought someone was being rude, and in assessing his take, I was like, well, you did also preface it by telling us that you've just been waiting for a really long time for anyone to give you the argument.
Right.
Well, I'm a little disappointed, Brock, in you and everybody else. I am. I will tell you, I am a little disappointed in everyone. For years, while I was making this strikeouts argument that they didn't matter, I was waiting for some great debater out there to just say, Mike, how can you look at and be excited about pitcher strikeouts but not care about hitter strikeouts? And no one ever did, because I had no response.
But isn't it like anything, like in the NFL, when defenses get better and then offenses adjust, like the hitters have to adjust, right? You can't just be like, oh, pitchers are amazing now, so we strike out all the time.
Yes, 100%.
That's right, Maura.
Yeah, but look, sometimes
Maura,
it's hard to
where was
get
that
out
a
of
year
set
ago?
ways.
Maura, where was that 2 years ago?
Well, that's why I didn't make that argument, because I didn't think it was an argument.
It was just understood.
Yeah. I don't know. There's more in here. There's a lot, but I'm not going to get too deep into a lot of the.
Well, 206 says I did say that, you ding dong.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I said that. I said it.
You know what I think it comes back to for me, and again, what I'm looking forward to sharing with you and Maura and Lyle and all of you that listen, and we love all of you guys out there, is some of the things that I think will be through coaching and actually doing. I remember Matt Hasselbeck saying this, that Holmgren really challenged him to coach, like in the summer. Go coach. Because they were just button heads, and it was not a real healthy deal. And Matt would tell you, like, he went and like coached at some camps and was like, oh, okay, now I'm seeing it from the other side. Now the paradigm has shifted a little bit. Now I do have a little more understanding on the other side. Like jumping into coaching, I'm excited about what, these beliefs for 20 years have been solidified in my mind. Are they really as solid on the other side? Because one of the real core beliefs and tenets, and I talked to you about this, in baseball was, man, pressure your opponent. I love teams in basketball that press. Like Haley and Macy's, my favorite team that they'd ever been on in their whole life, their state championship team out here, they just pressed. And you could feel it.
Yeah, the pressure.
The pressure they put on made the other team press and took them so out of their game. One of my favorite college basketball teams was Nolan Richardson's 40 Minutes of Hell. Those guys, like, you go in their gym, right? And it was like, and you just knew you're going to be pressurized. Playing an opponent in football, Salk, I don't think I could ever, if I were a head coach or part of a staff, say, oh, yeah, play Tampa 2, play some soft quarters, just give up completions, just bend, but we're not going to break. No, man. We're going to press, and we're going to come at you, and we're going to try to pressurize you. And I felt like, some of this 3 outcome just doesn't pressurize that opponent.
Now, pressurizes the pitcher.
Yes, it does.
It really does. That patience element absolutely pressurizes the pitcher.
Yes, it does. That is fair. And at any time, if the guys are capable and have that ability to hit home runs, sure, that puts pressure on that pitcher. But it doesn't put much pressure on the 8 guys in the field.
That's right.
Right, and they don't have to make many plays. And strike out 10 times a game. That's almost half the time they don't even have to contribute to anything defensively.
253 says, only in Salk's apology is everyone else at fault. Let me be clear. I'm not apologizing for anything. There's no apology.
No, you're just pledging.
I'm making a pledge about the future, and I'm explaining my thinking behind it.
Yes.
There's no apology here. Don't get it twisted.
I'm starting to understand when you say you and Heather never fight. She just doesn't have the energy.
No.
She's like, I'll
She
let it go.
Salk just pledges.
Heather and I agree on most
There's
things.
a lot of pledges in the house.
Yeah, because it's exhausting to listen to you argue your point.
What are you talking? Because it's well argued?
Now you will. Now you did say, Salk. You did say, and we confronted Lyle about this. You did say if this team wins 95 games and wins a division and gets to a World Series, there are going to be some apologies.
There will be. Yes. On everyone's behalf.
Absolutely.
Every single one in this room and almost everybody listening is going to have to apologize to somebody.
Yep.
People are either going to have to apologize to Dan, to Jerry, or to John. Like someone's going to have to apologize to at least one or more of those 3 people because they will either be winning by spending less, winning with Jerry's strategy, or winning with Dan and Edgar's view. You're going to have to apologize to one of those 3 people. Yeah. I know I will. I know you will for sure.
I'll be the bigger man.
I know everyone here.
Lyle
will.
Maura, will you apologize?
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Lyle?
Then we'll have a real
Happy
apology.
We'll
Lyle?
be in a good place, right?
Lyle?
Yes.
Didn't you guys ask me about this already?
Yes, and last time you were a little
squishy.
Yeah. You were a little iffy.
There will be some.
How are you feeling today?
There will be some apologies to be dealt out. Yes.
Oh,
that's what I said last time. Some. Yeah.
Nah, you were wishy-washy.
Well, again, there's
you were wishy-washy.
Yeah, there's some.
All right. I think what we're going to find out is that all this is as simple as be aggressive early in the count and battle late.
That's right.
And that's really all they're doing.
Yep.
Everything else is sort of noise. It's
Still
just
elevating and separating, or separating and elevating.
Be aggressive early and battle late. And if you have a few minutes, go read the column. Maybe you'll be less annoyed. It's at seattlesports.com. Well, we really do appreciate you guys watching our videos.
And remember, you can like it, you can subscribe it, you can download the Seattle Sports app so you never miss a minute.